Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to vinylalbumcovers.com. This is Ed, of course, and you know what we do here. This is Slept On. We talk about songs that should have been hits that weren't. And boy, have I got a doozy for you now. So, Woody. By now you guys know Woody and I are in touch with each other. Woody from Drew Hill. We became friends. It's still weird to say, but we did. Like, we're legit friends. Coolest thing. But I'm not name dropping. I'm just amazed that that's the case because he's such a good guy. But he turned me on to this documentary that he was on, and I'm going to put the link in the description so you can go watch it. It should be on YouTube probably any moment now. They finished it a couple of years ago, and I was unaware of it until he shared it with me, and I just got finished watching it. And if you're a fan of Kenny Green and Intro, you need to watch it. Like, you really do. It's deep. It's really, really deep. But at any rate, it kind of inspired me to take a look at a song that I'd kind of forgotten about. So, and apparently a lot of other people did too, unfortunately. So it goes this way. So Intro formed back in 1990, and they were together initially for about 7 years. Of course, it was Kenny Green, Buddy Wyke, Clinton, Buddy Wyke, and Jeff Saunders. That was the group, and they came together and with Untouchables Entertainment, and came out with that first album, the one that had "Ribbon in the Sky" on it, and a bunch of other songs. And it's such a great record. It really is kind of, it's got Untouchables running through its blood. You know, it's a great record. And Kenny sounded absolutely amazing on it. Of course, we'd already heard from Kenny because he had written songs first. He wrote like "Love No Limit" for Mary J. Blige and some other things too. So we kind of already knew him from his pen game. But his voice is just amazing, and that's what Intro unearthed, this absolutely incredible Stevie Wonder-like voice. But it wasn't Stevie. This wasn't like a Glenn Lewis thing. Well, Glenn is extremely talented. Glenn sounds a lot like Stevie, but Kenny still has his own thing. He still sounded like a distinct artist. He just kind of had Stevie-isms, which was just fine with all of us, really. And they put together that first record, like I said, and it did really well. It went gold. I'll give you the numbers for it. It peaked at number 11 on the R&B charts, which is what matters here. And it went gold, which is pretty good. And I remember when they released "Ribbon in the Sky," they started playing it on the radio here in DC. They didn't release a single for it. So if you wanted that song, you had to buy the album. And I did. I remember going into Tower Records, and I actually talked about this on a front episode that I did with Dre a while back. But I ended up going into Tower looking for the single, Tower Records, and could not find it. And all I could find was the album. And there was one copy of it, and the case was cracked, and I didn't care. I had to have it right then and there. So I grabbed the album. It was like $15 at the time, as I recall, and took it out to the car and just went straight to that song and just fell in love. That was kind of the gateway drug to the rest of the record. And a lot of that record is just amazing. It's got some overtly sexual things that are not really my bag, honestly, but a lot of that record is just excellent. Really is. And so anyway, a couple of years later, they released the New Life record. Yes, I did look. It was released in 1995. It peaked at number 16 on the R&B charts. So it didn't do quite as well. But just a little information from this documentary that I just watched. The difference between the first and second record from an administrative level was quite different. And I'm actually going to stop there. So we'll talk a little bit more about this after we listen to the song. But one of the songs that ended up on the record was a cover of Bobby Caldwell's "What You Won't Do for Love." which is just fantastic. So now we're going to take a listen to the song we've been talking about. This is What You Won't Do for Love, the Bobby Caldwell, Alphonse Kettner tune, as performed by Intro.
I guess you wonder where I've been. I searched to find love within. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let it go. No, no, no. My friends wonder what is wrong with me. Say I'm in a daze from your love, you see. I came back to let you know. Got a thing for you, and I can't let go. No. Some people travel around the world, but they may never find what they dream of. You won't do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. You just won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Hey, listen, my friends wonder what is wrong with me. Well, I'm in a day from your love, you see. I came back to let you know. No, no, got a thing for you, and I can't let it go. And though I only want the best, it's true. I can't believe the thing I do for you. I would do for you what you do. Do for love. You tried everything. You won't give. You just won't give up. In my world, only you make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love, baby, what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not do. What you won't do for love. What you won't do for love. Yes, I know that the best I want is true. I can't believe all the things you do. Make me do for love. Make me do for love. I only want the best, it's true. I can't believe the things I do for you, baby. Hey, you won't do for love. You won't do. You tried everything. You just won't give up. You won't give up. You won't do for love. Do for love.
My goodness. So there's What You Won't Do for Love, kids, by Intro. Yeah, I remember it got played. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and the Wikipedia page doesn't list it as a single, but I remember it getting play here in DC on PGC. So maybe they just played it independently. I don't know. That used to happen back then. It certainly wouldn't happen now, but back then it could happen. Like, these are the days like pre-Clear Channel, where you could kind of, if you were a program director, you could, or even if you were just a DJ, like you could kind of do what you wanted sometimes. But yeah, I'm not really sure. But it would, so here's the thing, right? So, and a lot of this I learned from the documentary. So go watch that documentary. I'm going to tease it for you now, so you'll go watch it. But the difference between all of the machinery that was in place for that first album and the second is stark. Like, there's a huge difference. I mean, completely different producers, completely different A&R people. For all intents and purposes, a lot of the label was different because they were signed through Untouchables, and by that second record, they were just signed to Atlantic proper. And so all the machinery was different. And that changed everything, even up to and including like the cover art company. The cover art people was completely different. If you look at the differences in the cover between the first and the second record, I know they have a problem with that second cover. I don't. I think it's a really nice looking cover. It looks more adult. It's a little less rough, rugged, and raw, that's true, but they look more adult. I think it's a better looking cover. I honestly do. I think of the two covers of those two records, I think this is the better cover. They won't agree with that, but what can I tell you? I think it's a better cover. But either way, everything that could be different was different. And with this particular song, they worked with a couple of guys that you may have heard of, Chad Hugo and Pharrell Williams. You know them as the Neptunes. This was one of their early productions. This one and Use Your Heart by SWV were kind of done fairly close together, actually. And those are the first two that we got from that production team. And of course, based on everything that we heard from the Neptunes afterwards, you'd never know that this was a Neptunes production. I mean, it doesn't bear any of their trademarks at all. You don't hear Pharrell's voice at all. You don't hear, the typical rhythm patterns or the keyboard work. It's all just very different and really kind of a nice updating to the Bobby Caldwell song. But it holds to those same chords, and all the melodies are much the same, and so on and so forth, although the vocal arrangements are very different. Another thing that puzzles me too with this tune is that this sounds like just Kenny. If Buddy and Jeff are on this song, I can't tell where they are. That's not to say that they're not on it somewhere in the stacks, but I can't hear it. I can only hear Kenny. Which kind of goes along with what we were hearing in that documentary too. So you might want to go take a look at that. Again, this is yet another push. Go look. But yeah. So I thought that was rather strange too. Not an unusual thing to have happen though. Typically with groups, in a lot of cases anyway, not necessarily typically, but in a lot of cases, like these groups would, the producers would kind of pick one of the guys and have them do the singing in the group. This happened with High Five for sure. And other groups kind of like that. They just focused on Tony for High Five. And here it sounds on this particular tune anyway that they just kind of focused on Kenny and just let Kenny do all the harmonies. That's what it feels like. I'm happy to be wrong though. If I'm wrong, point it out. But I think it's just Kenny. And, it kind of makes sense. Because again, everything was so different at Atlantic, and apparently the label itself had become very focused on Kenny Green as the star, which is not, again, that's not unusual either. But that's apparently what had happened by this point. And Atlantic kind of didn't know what to do with the group. And so if you look at let me go back and take a look, but if you go back and look at the singles as they were released, really nothing, there were only two of them and nothing did well. I mean, Funny How Time Flies, which is kind of an upbeat thing, only got to number 25, and Feels Like the First Time only got to number 52, and these are R&B numbers. So they completely just Atlantic didn't. I don't think it's intro. I think Atlantic just didn't know what to do because they were signed to essentially a different label at this point. Even though that first record did come out at Atlantic, all the machinery was different, and I just don't think they knew what to do. There's that second record has few apologies to make. I think like there's another song on it. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Somebody Loves You. It's the last song on the album. Sounds absolutely incredible. I don't know that it's a single, but it sounds amazing. Such a great song. Almost covered it here, but What You Won't Do for Love is kind of gets the edge for me because I just think the chord changes are more interesting. But Somebody Loves You is great too. There's a lot of great stuff on that second record too. It's just a very different album. And Atlantic didn't know what to do. So that's, to kind of go along with what we usually do on this show, I think that's kind of why that song failed and why the album failed. And unfortunately, after that, it was basically all over. Kenny Green they kind of broke up, and Kenny continued to write for other artists, and then he ended up passing away in 2001. Unfortunately, he died of AIDS. He didn't make it. But the other two guys are still out there. Buddy and Jeff are still out there touring as intro. So they're still out there. So go take a look. But that is going to do it for this episode of Slept On. We're on number 39. We've done 39 of these. And I'm not sure when this will get posted because I'm actually doing this. I'll be honest with you. I'm actually doing this the same night that I did the last one. I just kind of got in the mood to do it. I saw the documentary and it kind of got my juices flowing. So I'm doing this on the exact same night that I did the last one. So the Dino track. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching these shows. They're really nothing if you don't watch them. Thank you very much for your support. It is much appreciated and it is so nice to be back. I do have more content coming for sure all the time. I'm back on the bus. And I've got another thing. I've talked about this other thing before a little bit, but now I'm really going to get on it because I don't want this to just be you watching me talk all the time. I'd like for us all to kind of do this together. So I'm going to make it so that that's possible. But again, I really appreciate you watching. And until we see each other in the next one, keep listening to great music.